Hi everyone, welcome back to Glit and Glitter. I have a tumbler here that my friend got from the bank and she didn't want the bank logo on it. So she gave it to me and asked me if I could make some sort of a beach scene on it. And because it is tapered, it goes from big here to thin here. And I don't know how big this is. I didn't want to take a chance with a vinyl wrap. So I'm going to do a beach scene by hand, glitter it myself, spray paint it myself, get the waves on it myself. So I thought I'd take you along for the journey. Now the only thing I have done so far, the bottom of this had this like foam pad glued to the bottom. So I had to pry all that off. I soaked it in some acetone for a while till all that came off, got it nice and clean. And then it had this huge indentation, actually two of them. So I took my UV resin and I did like 3 layers of resin. It is still not perfectly level, but that's okay because I'm going to be going over it with regular resin. So I did 3 layers to fill this in, and I cured it for about 3 minutes per each layer to make sure they're rock solid and that's not going anywhere. So what I'm going to do now is take my sandpaper, which happens to be 220 grit. I don't think the grit makes a difference. I'm just gonna scuff it up. So you just wanna scuff it up and give it something to grit to. Now before I get into resining anything, I'm going to spray paint this cup, but because my beach scene has multiple different colors, I have multiple different spray paints here. So the bottom, where the beach would be, I am going to use my tan spray paint. And then I'm going to have a thin layer of my white spray paint. Then I'm going to do a light blue and then a dark blue. So I'm going to take this outside and do that, and I'm not going to bring the camera with me, but that's what I'm doing. So when I come back, all the layers, and that's really just kind of a guide for when I put on the glitter. It's not really going to be seen at all because I will be loading this with glitter. So that's kind of where I'm at. So let me go do that and we'll be back in 1 second. The tumbler is spray painted and dried. My spray paint came out terrible, so it's a good thing that it doesn't matter what the spray paint looks like on this one. Now I have gotten 2, 4, 6, 8 different glitters out. 4 blues, 2 whites, 2 golds, and each one has a chunky and a fine. So I'm going to coat this in resin this time because it gives me a lot longer working time to get my glitter on. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to sprinkle my chunky glitter on first to get as much of that on as I want before I fill in everything else with the fine glitter. So I'm going to mix up about 5 milliliters of 5 to 10. I think I'm only going to use like 2 or 3 milliliters of resin. You want just the thinnest coat because you want this to dry pretty quickly. So let me get that mixed and then we'll get our glitters opened and poured on. I've mixed up the smallest amount of resin as I could. Now I don't want to use a lot, and the reason you don't want to use a lot is if it's gobbed on there, it's going to move all of your glitter while you're waiting for it to cure. So we're just coating it and moving it as much as we can. A super thin layer. It's just enough to hold the glitter on, and that's it. So we're really spreading it as thin as you can. I really shouldn't be doing it over this paper because my glitter will be poured over that paper. So I am going to get it as thin as possible. It's just a long working glue is basically how you want to think of the epoxy method. And this little rough on this side from the stupid spray paint. So I'm just going to get a little thicker on this side. Okay, So I've got most of that. I think I mixed up 10 milliliters. I think I have about 8 of it left. Okay, so let me wipe my paper here. I'm just gonna go in with my chunky glitters first before I go in with the fine glitters. I'm going to change my glove first. Actually just took it off for this part because I won't be touching. So I'm just gonna go over with my chunky glitters where I want them. And then the fine glitter, like I said, will just fill in all the spots that this chunky hasn't touched. That's why I have 8 different glitters here. And then if you want to keep it, then just take your paper and dump it back in your jar before you start the next one. The next one will be my white. This is a diamond shaped glitter. So I didn't have any chunky ones with this color in them. And then I'm going to go in with my light blue. You shouldn't have to rush. Like I said, you have plenty of working time when you're using epoxy as your glue. And you can let them fall where they may so they can blend together. And then my dark blue. And again, blend it a little bit so it doesn't look like such harsh lines. Now we're going to go in with the, let me get rid of this paper. Go in with the fine gold. And I'll just pour that right out of the jar. And this should stick everywhere where the chunky is not. And then we're going to go in with the white and kind of blend it in together with the gold. Tap it off. I'm going to just kind of help it with my hand so I can have a little more control. Once this is dry, I'm going to dry brush it all off. Not all of it, but all the loose stuff off. I'll get the light blue next. letting it go down into, but some of that's all going to get brushed off again. And then finally the dark blue. Just gonna take and pat it down with my hand. Get it as flat as I can, especially the chunky glitter. Get it off this edge. Go in one more time, make sure it's touching everywhere. Just ruined that white pile, so don't do what I just did. Okay, now we're just going to let this dry and then we will dry brush it. It's all done turning, it is dry, and what I did was take this large dry brush and I brushed it over the garbage can and I got all the loose glitter off. So now that it's all off, I want to seal it in. So I'm going to use my Mod Podge matte clear acrylic sealer. I'm going to spray it a couple times, let it dry, and then we'll go over to the turner and start putting some resin on there. Okay, I've got it all sprayed. As you can see, it's not as shiny as it was, so that's a good sign, and it looks pretty flat. I mixed up 20 milliliters of resin for the first coat. I don't know that I'll use all of it, but I do want a decent coat on it just because of all the glitter we're covering. So I'm going to put about 2 coats of glitter on before I put the decal on. Just because I'm pretty sure I'm going to need 2 just to get a nice flat surface to get the decal stuck on. So this cup is probably going to take about 4 coats of resin. So I will go ahead and put this one on. Now if you have a collector's mat, that's a great thing to put underneath it because it will get all the drips that you have and not get all over your surface, and then you just kind of pop the pieces out like this and clean it all off. So it's a pretty nice feature to have if you're doing tumblers. And yeah, I will go ahead and get this on and be back with you as soon as it's ready for a decal. this is dry. It has 2 coats on there, and it's very smooth, really. There's only a few raised surfaces. Now, I was getting ready to put this little decal on for her and realized I haven't put the white waves on that are going to be moving everywhere in the resin. So first, I'm going to sand this down lightly, not too much because there's not a lot to get off. And then I'll bring you back over to the turner, and we're going to put another coat of resin on. First, I'll get it all coated, and then I'll use the leftover resin, put some white in there, and then we're going to place some waves randomly on the cup and let the turner, let them move around, and maybe take the heat gun to it depending on how much they move by themselves. So I'm just going to sand some of this down, especially this rim here, where it's a little more rough than the rest of it. And then we're going to add some waves. And then once the waves are dry, then we'll put on the decal and the sticker on the bottom. Okay, it's really smooth now. I'm just gonna go wash it with soap and water, dry it off real good, and then we'll get some resin on there. I mixed up 20 milliliters. I'll probably use about 10, maybe 15. And then you would wanna have your white pigment paste ready. So when you're done with this, you can add your white to it. So I'm just going to coat the whole thing with a nice generous amount. So it will want to move a little bit. We don't want it moving a ton, but let's just get a nice coat on. The smoother it gets, the less it takes. I mean, when you have a bunch of chunky glitter on there, you're gonna need a lot more resin to cover it. So every time you put another coat on, it takes less because you don't need as much. So because we're doing so many different steps to this cup, that's why we're doing so many more layers. Otherwise, this could have been the last layer if you weren't doing anything extra to it. And once I get this on, spread, and then I'm going to torch it, get the bubbles popped. Then I will take my glove off or change my glove and get the white on there. Once the white's on there, you can't smooth it out anymore with your finger. You'll be smoothing it everywhere. So just make sure your bottom is nice and done and all your bubbles are popped. See, I have about half left, maybe a little more than half. I might put a little more on just to get it nice and thicker than normal. Let's see. You're not going to see a whole lot of stuff in the way of bubbles on a glitter tumbler. Glitter is very good at hiding them. So I don't even know if any popped, but just in case they were there, I'm just mixing up my white now. And get it nice and opaque so you don't have like see-through waves in there. then all we're going to do is drizzle this on where we want the waves. Not a ton. I don't want a whole lot, but I do want some throughout. And then I'm just going to kind of let the tumbler do its thing before I start helping it. So I'm just going to torch it again before I start moving it with any kind of heat. I'm going to let the tumbler turner kind of move them. So I'll let you just watch this for a minute. Okay, so I'm going to get my heat gun out and I'm just going to move it around gently, not too much. I want to feather the waves out a little bit, soften them up. Torch will sometimes give it cells in the white. You can see it splitting them up a little bit. Okay, now I'm just going to let it spin. I'm not going to touch it again, so I'm just going to let it spin until it's dry, and I'm going to put my Resiners machine over it because I kind of like the waves and I don't want them moving too much more. It is cured. It's been a few hours and this tumbler is coming out absolutely gorgeous. If there was nothing else going on this, it's done. It is smooth. There is not anything sticking out. I think it is just amazing. How do you like the waves? I think they came out pretty good. They didn't move too much. There's some cells in them from the torch. So now we're going to put our stickers on. And you're going to find, I use painter's tape. If you've watched me before, you know I have a love-hate relationship with transfer tape. So since this side, let me go get my cradle, which I forgot. Just set it in your cradle so it stays put and level. So this piece here has the least amount of waves to cover up. So I'm just going to put this on and pray that it's straight because you can't see through the tape very good. Nice. Looks good. And then I'm going to put on the bottom. I have these stickers made with my name and care instructions. If you want these, they will be linked at the bottom. I'm just going to put this on the bottom as center as you can, and then try to get out as many bubbles as you can. That looks good. Like this bottom is really flat. Like this is one of the flattest bottoms I've ever had. And it wasn't like that when I started. Now I do seal these stickers because these stickers in the past, I don't know that they were ever sealed because they used to, if I was doing that to them, the paint would come off. So I went through multiple stickers. You can seal this in if you want to. I actually have a little bit of polyurethane sealer that I use. which is Quick Coat Urethane Sealer. I'm just going to use my hand because I don't trust that sticker for some reason. If I can open it, sure would help. I'm just going to rub a little bit on there, which I don't think I need it on there, but since I have it out, I'm going to. And then this dries really quick, so I'm just going to rub it on here, and it's just going to seal this in. It is non-toxic, so you don't need gloves. And then I'm going to seal the bottom in, just so it doesn't lift. I'm going to let that dry for like 20 minutes. I will put on the final coats of resin, which you guys really don't need to see that. You've already seen me do it twice. But I will come back when it's done and we will trim up the top. Maybe I'll do that now while it's not... There's really hardly anything on here at this point. This tumbler has been behaving itself. It doesn't always happen. So just trim any resin off and then you do it again at the end. And now since I touched this with my hands and no gloves, I'm going to wash the rest of this down with alcohol before I put any resin on, because anything from my fingers may have gotten on the cup and it will split the resin. So make sure you wash this down with alcohol before you add resin. It's done, you guys. It's beautiful. It's smooth. These are all the waves. All the glitter is showing. I'm in love with this cup. What do you guys think? Now you just take your knife, go around the edge, pry off any resin. Most of it comes off easy. I do have to work on this little piece here. There it goes. Most of it pops off. There's not too much around this edge. But just go around your edge, get it all off, and then take a paper towel and your acetone and clean out the inside. The inside, the lip, get all the overspray from the spray paint off. Grab my acetone. And then wash it with soap and water. And it is good to go home. I think it came out beautiful. I hope you like it, Jan. I hope it's what you had in mind. And that's one way to transform a cup in your cabinet that you do not like. I don't have the lid. I'm pretty sure she has it, so I don't have a final picture with the lid on it. But here's the bottom with the sticker. I'm super happy how smooth the bottom came out. And that's it, you guys. I will get you some final photos. Another tumbler in the bag. We'll add it to the collection. All right, you guys, we'll see you tomorrow. You have a blessed day. Bye.